I'm John Stahl-Wert, and along with my colleagues around the world, we're committed to serving men and women in ways that help them make the greatest positive impact they can possibly make for the good of the world, for the good of others, through their leadership. In the work that we do with leaders, helping them gain practical skills that grow their people and develop the culture of their organization, we've identified over the course of 25 years 5 areas of practice that we always see being practiced by those leaders that have learned how to create great workplaces of productivity and humanness, the outperforming, out-earning companies on earth that attract the better people and keep them and produce trust and loyalty and a sense of mission and devotion in service to the world that grow and are the kind of places that become best places to work and so forth. Have at the helm leaders who use very similar people practices and culture building practices that we have benchmarked. And we've identified that in 5 areas. We call them the 5 actions of serving leadership. And I want to give some reflections today on one of those 5 areas called Run to Great Purpose. In the previous podcast, I also talked about Run to Great Purpose. And in that podcast, I unpacked what the characteristics are of a vision statement, a great purpose statement that are needed if it is to be effective in waking people up and giving them a sense of the really awesome opportunity is to go to work and spend one's day meaningfully. In this podcast, I want to drill down and I want to talk about how we take a really effective great purpose statement, a really effective vision statement, and deliver it from our mind, from our imagination, from our understanding into the mind, into the heart, into the imagination of our people. Because we know full well that having a wonderful vision statement can deliver 0 on the front line. And so there has to be a delivery process. There has to be a transfer process that causes what's in us to be lifted up and out of us and to be placed down and into our people so that it's within them and it operates and functions and adds life to them. And so I want to share just a couple of elements of the practices that we need to get good at practicing, the practices that we teach on how to transfer meaning from us to our people, so that they show up in all the powerful ways that a worker needs to show up if our enterprise is going to be amazing. First, a couple of reflections on this business of making meaning. It's a very interesting thing. Years ago, I read a book by Viktor Frankl called Man's Search for Meaning, in which he observed through his survival of the death camps in Nazi time in Germany. He survived. He observed that the people who endured, got through, survived disproportionately to those who perished, had a reason to survive. They had a reason, which allowed them to hang in there. It's not a 1-for-1 equation. We go through very difficult things and life is harsh, but having a reason to hang in there, having a reason to go another day, having something out there that we are hanging on for impacts us. And his observation at one level was that meaning matters. But he made another observation. I don't remember that he reflected on it particularly, but I saw it. And that is that the ability to make meaning was not evenly distributed in the concentration camp where he was. Some were able to make meaning, some were able to hold meaning, and some were not. And I observed this, that there are some people that, you give them a task to do and, their head comes up and they don't just see the task, they see past the task to why it matters. They can make the meaning. They can connect the dots from what I'm doing here to why it's really valuable to do that well. and other people cannot. And just a quick little reflection. This is a reflection in process. I've been pondering this for about 30 years, and I don't have conclusions, but I have some wonderings about this that I want to share with you. When I was younger, I'm 65 now, so let's go back to, let's say, 25. I was clear. I saw the fact that leaders are better at making meaning on average than others are. I saw that. And now in my practice over the years, I'm in organizations and companies every day where it's clear to me that the boss, the owner, the founder, the pioneer, they know why. They're clear. They might not talk about it. They might not share it. They might not think it matters. They might not take it out of themselves and put it into others. But if you sit them down and say, okay, why are you doing this? And why are you doing it that way instead of this way? Or what's the difference that you're making by being a company that produces what you produce? They know. And if you go out onto the floor and ask the same question, they don't know. I began to observe quite a few years ago, I'm going back now 40 years, that leaders tend to be able to make meaning. And not everybody does. In fact, that's not an exaggeration. I have shared elsewhere that many leaders I talk with aren't sure that it's important for them to help their people have a sense of meaning. And one of the reasons that many leaders are not sure that they need to help their people make meaning is because the meaning-making work, I know why what I do matters, is obvious to them. It's baked in. It's bred in the bone. They don't even think about it. It's natural for them, and they assume. I think many leaders assume everybody does that. Everybody can see that, obviously. I mean, you're a nurse working with a children's cancer ward. Surely you see the meaning of that. And I'm just telling you that a lot of people don't know how to connect the dots from what I'm doing to why it matters. A lot of people don't. So that early observation, leaders tend to be better at this than your average person, has migrated over time as I've watched it. And I've got a new, we'll just call this a theory, but I think it's useful for you to think about as you relate with people and as you think about your own assignment in leadership. My newer conclusion is that the ability to make meaning, the ability to see the connection from doing this well to making a difference out there, produced the leader. This is a chicken and egg debate, and so ultimately you can't settle this. But think about it. Let's say you've got 7-year-old twins, and one of them has an imagination for purpose, and you give them a job, and they can think a little the way you think about why that job matters. And they realize that if they do it, it contributes to the family in this way, and that it's valuable to do. And the other doesn't. It's just like, why do I have to do that? Why do I have to do that? Do I have to do that? And so you've got these two children, one with an ability to connect dots from task to meaning, and a second child without the ability to connect dots from task to meaning. I promise you those two boys aren't going to show up the same way on the task. I promise you. The one who understands why they were asked is going to show up with his head up and with a vigor or a conscience to do good work differently than the boy who feels like he just got saddled with something that has ruined his day. They're not going to show up the same way. And so take that over into a coaching experience in school or a teaching experience in school or first job, when you get out of school. The meaning maker who receives work, receives tasks, receives assignments, and can see value in those tasks. And the non-meaning maker is like, oh man, why is this on the test? Aren't going to perform the same way. And so what happens? This person performs at a higher level. This person performs at a lower level. And the people around notice, look at that one. And this person gets elevated. You know what, Bobby? You know what, Stevie? You know what, Sharon? Why don't you put your name in for class president? Why don't you speak to your classmates next Monday morning? Why don't you be the one who speaks to your classmates and welcomes them to the day? Whatever it is, that person gets elevated. And so, at one level, it is a chicken and egg, but it illustrates or it underscores, puts a bright line under the fact that the ability to see the connecting dots from assignment to purpose makes huge impact on performance and elevates people into more responsibility. They're trusted with more. They're asked to do more. And for what it's worth, my current thinking is that skill to make meaning is what produces leaders, rather than leaders are simply innately imbued with that skill. I think it is a driver of human engagement and second mile performance and so forth, for whatever that is worth. Here's how it works. You go through the work, and we do this very methodically inside that first action of serving leadership called Run to Great Purpose. You go through the work of examining your vision statement, your great purpose statement, and you make sure that it delivers what it needs to deliver. In short, it needs to speak to the human being's requirement that they be put in their work into the valuable service of others. It's not just a task. That they can see how doing their work well translates into a contribution to others. This is what allows us to hit the pillow at the end of the day with a sense of that was a good day. Even if it was a hard day, that was a good day. Made a difference. Made a difference in what sense? Made a difference for someone else. This is what animates our humanness. Actually, I think it is at the root of our life. I think that living, as opposed to dying, that living is the experience of serving others. And as we place ourselves not into an unimportant position, but into a position of seeing how we can help someone, life becomes bigger for us. And as we turn our attention just on ourselves and stare at ourselves and think about ourselves, dying becomes bigger. I think it's integral, actually, to life that we serve others, that we have purpose that has to do with others. So that's the first part. We want to be clear that our vision statement actually addresses the design requirement that human beings have at work, which is that they are doing something that makes a difference for others. Then the assignment is, okay, it's clear. We stenciled it in the lobby of the building. We put it in our brochure. Good vision statement. So what? How do we get that thing to live? Not just in our minds, but in the daily activities of our people. And I have just a couple of suggestions for you. And again, we walk this through in great detail so we can build a delivery system so that the nutritious value of meaning gets delivered out to the front lines of our workers, where it elevates their life, it elevates their work, it elevates their attentiveness and everything that produces goodness in our company. First of all, build supply lines. Think of it very literally. Build supply lines of stories from customer-facing encounters inside your company back into the back office of your company. The ability to know that this enterprise I work for really makes a difference in the world. The ability to know that is not evenly distributed inside your company. You've got people out in sales who are interacting with the people who use your products or have received your services. You've got people in installation who are out there and get the feedback. Somebody's really, really thrilled at what happened, and they tell that customer-facing person. So you've got sales, you've got delivery, you've got installation. You've got people out there in your company who are feasting at a gourmet table of realization that we do good stuff in the world. So they're not starving for lack of the nutritious quality of meaning. But you got people in the back. You have people running the forklift. You've got people in the warehouse. You've got people in packaging. You've got people in finance. They're doing accounts payable and accounts receivable, and they're tracking down the invoices. They're doing order entry and chasing after the salespeople because they forgot to write something down. I mean, you've got a lot of people in the back of your organization who are heads down on tasks that are repetitious. They matter. Boy, do they matter. You know, you promise a customer something really cool that they're excited about receiving. And when you make that promise in the sales event, there's some information that needs to float to the back of the company so that it can actually be delivered the way you promised it. And that person in the back doesn't have everything they need and they're frustrated. You know, the front to the back of your organization there's kind of an injustice in the distribution of the ability to see good stuff we do. And so, first of all, build a supply line, build a supply chain, build a caravan of stories back so that everybody in your enterprise gets to feast on the joy at the end of the day, at the end of the week, at the end of the month of something that really important happened and they had a hand in it. Explain it to them, how they had a hand in it. Show it to them. Tell the stories. How might you do that? Well, I'm still talking about supply chain. Build a fleet of equipment that pulls the stories back. You know, everybody who faces a customer has reporting requirements. The salesperson has to write stuff down. The delivery person has to write stuff down about what happened. The installation person, you know, there's customer-facing reporting requirements that your frontline people have to do so that you always are good in the way that you do your business. Add to those reporting requirements. Incentivize this, that they bring the stories back. They are the storytellers. They are the people who have the great privilege of coming back into the organization, making sure everybody is uplifted and encouraged by what they get to see out there. You build it into the job description. Why would you do that? Well, you would do it. You would add that burden to the people who are on the front because you can't afford to have the people in the back robbed of the riches of the knowledge the people in the front have. It's what we'll call this redistribution. You've got to distribute that good stuff back into the organization. Storytelling. You put the stories on the wall. You show pictures. You write it down. You send it out so that everybody hears. So that would be one. Build a supply chain of purpose stories, difference-making stories from the people who face the customer back to the people who do all of the detail work that actually produced that experience that the customer had. I mean, let's be fair. Everybody contributes to it. That person in the back, if they did their work poorly, would produce an experience out front that was poor, and vice versa. Secondly, create regular communication processes. And this should be small and simple. You know, the beginning of each staff meeting, the beginning of each stand-up huddle, however you gather your people daily, weekly, every other week, you put them all in a van to go out to the job site, you know, as you're driving. Make an intentional plan when you are with your people on a regular basis to not just do agenda. So it's a agenda as usual. You know, who's doing what this week? Are you on schedule? What do you need? I mean, that's all really important stuff. But embed, hey, just quick little story before we get started. You know, yesterday we got news about this or that, and I just wanted you all to know. In fact, I saw you, Bobby, or I saw you, Sharon, doing this certain thing, and man, that was great because, you know, our vision is, and tell it to them again, remind it again. You know, we shouldn't recite our vision statement, our great purpose statement once a year, you know, at the annual meeting. This is irrigation. This is drip irrigation. You know, we don't water the garden once a year with a fire hose. Everybody have what they need now, see you in a year. No, we provide small, nourishing drops of essential things to our plants, and we need to do that with our people. And so 30 seconds at the beginning of your meeting each week. Hey, listen, before we get into the agenda, just real quick, our purpose here is thus and so, and give them that great language about how you make a difference. But let me just remind you of a concrete way this happened last week, and then tell them a story and thank them and point out people right on your team who were a part of that and say, I know you work so hard, and I know you're in the warehouse every day, and there aren't even windows back there. I know that, and I appreciate what you do so much, but I just wanted you to see that because of the way you pulled that off, we got that out the door on time, and the truck shipped when we promised it, and it got out there. Here's what happened out there. And boy, it means a lot to me that you did that. And it means a lot to us that we get to make a difference the way that we have promised that we would make a difference. We need delivery mechanisms for meaning. And sometimes, thirdly, you need to sit down one-on-one with somebody who maybe is half asleep at work. In our leadership, sometimes we're talking to everybody, but in our leadership, we are always needing to talk with one. And so we have to look around and ask, who needs to wake up more? Whose chin is down? Whose eyes are down? Whose spirit is down? And ask yourself the question, have I ever sat down with that person and really had a good talk, showing them from point A, what they do, all the way through to the impact that we make as a company in the world, how what they do delivers that. Have I ever done that? And you might find, when you ask yourself that question, that you yourself are not quite sure how what they do serves that great purpose. So you have a little work to do. You got to think that through so you can explain it to them. And we expect them to figure it out. This is work, doing this work. Why would we do this work? Because the sense of meaning and dignity and worth and purpose that our people bring to work is so valuable. First and foremost, because they're a human being. And the worthiness that the human beings experience at work, the worthiness of our employees that they experience at work is worth us doing this. And the enterprise that we serve is fueled and nourished by being surrounded by a lot of people who have that sense of meaning at work. And so, first of all, build yourself a supply chain. Get the stories back in. You've got them. There are people inside your enterprise who know exactly the difference that's being made out there. They see it every day. Make sure they tell it. They see it. Make sure they say it, so that you have the supply chain of these evidences, these stories of purpose. Secondly, build it into regular communications. So just real quick, 30 seconds, 1 minute, but every week, tell a story. Quick reminder, hey, everybody, we've got this great purpose. Recite it again so that, it's like the tuning fork. There it is. And then illustrate it. Something happened this week and name the names of the people who did it. Thank them. And this isn't hard to do. This isn't hard to do authentically, because this is important. Bring your heart authentically to that. Thank them, connect the dots, then get on with your agenda. Make no big deal about it. Just do it and do it and do it. And like a metronome, like a drum beat, like drip irrigation, bit by bit by bit in the lifting up of your people. And then keep your eyes open for some people who maybe are harder cases, and sit down with them and have a conversation with them to help them see maybe what they are blind to seeing. Our people are everything to our enterprise. That's such a common statement in business. Seldom is it meant, but our people are everything. They deliver everything. They do everything. Everything that produces amazing results that you bring out into the world, which quite frankly create the conditions for you being allowed to stay in business, is produced by our people. They do it. And we have a responsibility to them. I've talked about this before. Farmer, soil, crop. Farmer, soil, productivity. Leader, people and culture, productivity. We serve our people. They drive results. The farmer nourishes the soil grows the plant. And we have a duty to them. They are the difference makers, and we have to give them a line of sight from their task to the difference they make. And that means there's some things that we need to pay attention to and get good at in our practice. If this is something you'd love us to help you with, we love doing this work, helping leaders get sharp and clear. It doesn't take much time to tune this up, and the impact is almost immediate. Yesterday, I spent about 8 hours with 25 leaders, and we drilled into this in our work, and the clarity of this and the passion for this was huge at the end of the day. Most of the leaders that I talk with about our responsibility to help our people run to great purpose would love to do that if they just knew how. And it's common among leaders to know that meaning matters and to know that purpose matters. But how do I deliver that? That is something that you can learn. That is something you can master. I want to encourage you in your work. You've got so many burdens that you carry in your tasks. The work of the leader never stops. One of your assignments is to enrich the sense of purpose and meaning in your people. I want to encourage you in this. It matters. Those people you work with on behalf of the customers you serve are so vital and valuable and, frankly, precious. I want to encourage you as you find ways to bring meaning, to make meaning with your people so that they can deliver the full potential of who they are to the people that you serve.
For more information about the Center for Serving Leadership, visit our website at centerforservingleadership.com.